Hello class. For today's lesson, we will be covering lesson 9.1 again. This time we're going to look at applications of ratios. So what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to do different word problems involving ratios, and mainly we're going to look at two different things. We're going to learn how to divide a total quantity to a given ratio. So if we're given a certain number, a certain total, and a ratio, how would we divide it according to that ratio? Secondly, we're going to look at calculating changes in ratios. What if we were given a certain ratio and we had to change the numbers in order for it to meet another ratio? How do we do that? Alright, so let's look at example number 1. This is taken straight from the textbook, and we already have the solution, so we'll go through it together. Okay. In a salt solution, the ratio of the mass of salt to the mass of water is 2 to 13. If the mass of the solution is 180 grams, find the mass of salt in the solution. Okay, so we know that the ratio of salt to water is 2 to 13. Okay, that means the ratio of salt to the total solution would be 2 over 2 plus 13. Because the solution contains salt and water, we need to add both 2 and 13 together. That gives us 2 over 15. So if we have 180 grams as a solution, 2/15 of that would be 2 over 15 times 180. We multiply those two numbers and we get 24. So the mass of salt that's part of the solution is 24 grams. Okay? So pretty simple with the first example. Okay? Now I want you to pause the video and try doing this practice question. Okay, now let's look at the second example. Here we have the ratio of Mr. Fong's weight to his brother's weight is 10 to 13. If Mr. Fong weighs 18 kilograms less than his brother, find the weight of both Mr. Fong and his brother. Now there are two ways of doing this. The first method is making an equation. Now we can rewrite this as 10x plus 18 equals 13x. Okay. Now why do we write this? Okay, 10x represents Mr. Fong's weight and 13x represents his brother's weight. Now the reason why we add 18 to 10x is because we have an equation here. Now in order for these two to equal one another, 10x must be added with 18 because 10x is 18 kilograms less than 13x. Okay. Now if we solve for this, we find that 3x equals 18 and x equals 6. Okay. Now with the value of x, we can determine both Mr. Fong's weight and his brother's weight. Okay. So Mr. Fong, we just substitute 10 and substitute 6 with x. Okay. And we get 60 kilograms. Okay. And the brother would weigh 13 times 6. Okay? And that will give us 78 kilograms. All right? Now, the second method is to calculate the difference of the two weights. Okay? Now, we can have 13 over 10 x minus x equals 18. Okay? Now in this case, x represents Mr. Fong's weight. Okay? Now 13 over 10x would then represent his brother's weight. Now we simplify this. Okay? We multiply both sides by 10. That gives us 13x minus 10x equals 180. Okay? 3x equals 180. Okay? X equals 60. So remember, in this case, x represents Mr. Fong's weight. So as we can see, we get the same answer. Okay? And of course, Mr. Fong's brother's weight would be 13 over 10, and we substitute 60, and that should give us 78. Okay? So with that information in mind, I'd like everyone to pause the video and then do the practice question, which is the try it number 8 on page 7. Let's look at example 3 here. This is similar to example 1, except it involves a ratio of 3 quantities. Okay? Mr. A, Mr. B, and Ms. C shared 93 candies among themselves. The ratio of Mr. A's share to Mr. B's is 1 to 4. The ratio of Mr. B's share to Ms. C's is 3 to 4. How many candies does each person get? Now, just like what we learned in the previous lesson, we have to make a ratio involving 3 quantities by making the number for Mr. B in both ratios the same. Okay, so A to B is 1 to 4, B to C is 3 to 4. We need to find a common number by finding the lowest common multiple. In this case, it would be 12. So we multiply 1 to 4, each number here, by 3. That gives us 3 to 12. For 3 to 4, we multiply both numbers by 4. That gives us 12 to 6. So a ratio of A to B to C would be 3 to 12 to 16. Okay. Now, to find out how many candies Mr. A would get, okay, we take 93, okay, we multiply that by 3, the number in the ratio, and we divide it by the total of all 3 numbers, 3, 12, and 16. Okay, in that case, that would be 31. And if we solve for that, we'll find that our answer is 9. Okay, now we do the same thing for B. Okay, 93 times 12 over 31, and we'll find that our answer is 36. Okay, we do the same thing for C. 93 times 16 over 31, and we'll find that our answer is 48. Okay, so if we divide according to this ratio, those 93 candies, A should get 9 candies, B should get 36 candies, and C should get 48 candies. Now I want everyone to do as practice, I'd like you to try the tried question, okay, number 9 on page 8. Okay, our last example is probably the most challenging one. It's taken straight from page 8, example 10 of the textbook. Okay. Anna has 120 stamps and Brad has 80 stamps. After Anna gives some stamps to Brad, the ratio of the stamps of Anna to that of Brad becomes 3 to 5. How many stamps does Anna give Brad? Now, there are 2 ways of solving this. Okay. If we look at the textbook solution, okay, we can look at it this way. We make an equation with the number of stamps that Anna gives to Brad. Okay, that's 120 minus 3x. Okay. 120 represents the stamps that she had previously minus the stamps she has now. If we subtract the amount of stamps that she has now from the number of stamps she had previously, okay, that would represent the number of stamps that Anna gives to Brad. Now for the number of stamps that Brad received, that would be 5x minus 80. Okay? 5x represents the amount of stamps that he has now, and 80 were the amount of stamps that he had previously. If we subtract the amount of stamps that he had previously from the amount of stamps he has now, that should equal the number of stamps that he receives. So we solve for the equation. Okay? We find that x equals 25. Okay? And then we substitute 25 into any one of these equations, and it should give you the same value. Okay? If we have 120 minus 3 times 25, that's 45. We can do the same thing here. Okay? 5 times 25 would be 125, minus 80 would also give you the same answer, 45. Now, that is solution 1, okay, from the textbook, okay, page 8. Now, our second solution, okay, is a little bit different. We can write an equation instead. Okay? So we have 120 minus x equals 80 plus x. Now, X here represents the amount of stamps that were given to Brad by Anna. Okay? Now, in order to make this an equation to have them equal one another, we have to multiply the left side by 5, okay, and the right side by 3. Now, why is that? The reason is the ratio of stamps that Anna has to that of Brad is 3 to 5. If it's 3 to 5, that means if you want them to equal one another, the left side has to be multiplied by 5, and the right side has to be multiplied by 3. Because 3 times 5 is 15, and 5 times 3 is 15. Okay? So if we solve for the equation, we'll find that we get 600 minus 5x equals 240 plus 3x. Okay? If we rearrange the numbers, we'll find that x equals 45. So we get the same solution with this method as we do with the textbook method on page 8. Okay? All right. So again, I'd like you to practice. I want everyone to try the try it question number 10 on page 8. Okay? So that's your homework for today. Answer all the practice questions.